Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm back with another story from the Bible. A Bible story. So we've been reading about the king who had a dream, but he couldn't remember what that dream was. And he wanted his wise men to tell him, but they hadn't been able to. So he was going to have them all killed. But Daniel and his friends were also wise men. And they went to the king and said, give us time to pray about this. And they had a prayer meeting together, those boys did, and asked God to reveal it to them. So that's the chapter we're on now, part 1. The image that vanished. King Nebuchadnezzar looked very earnestly at Daniel. Can you tell me my dream and what it means? No, said Daniel humbly. There's no man wise enough to do such a thing. But God in heaven, who reveals secrets, he knows what your dream is and what will happen in the later days. But my dream, the king said. What did I dream? In your dream, said Daniel, you were thinking about things that would come to pass later. That's right, I was, said the king. I was wondering what would happen to my kingdom once I died. Leaning forward, he gazed. Let me pull this a little closer. It's a little far. Leaning forward, he gazed intently at Daniel. Somehow he felt sure that he was about to discover what he had been wondering about for so long. Calmly and respectfully, Daniel went on. You saw a great image, he said. And here's what the king looked like when he was listening to Daniel. Leaning forward, he wanted to know what that dream meant. And this image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form of it was terrible. The king almost leapt from his throne. This it was, the very thing I'd been trying to recall, a huge metal man. It stood by his bed and glared down at him. He would never forget that as long as he lived. This image's head, continued Daniel, was of fine gold. His breast and his arms were of silver. His belly and his thighs were of brass. His legs of iron, and his feet were part iron and part clay. Exactly, that's just what I saw, said the king. Yes, said Daniel, and you watched it until a stone, cut without hands, hit that image on the feet that were made of iron and clay and broke them to pieces. Then, with the iron, the clay, the brass, silver, and gold, they all broke into pieces, and they became like chaff, which is part of a plant that's easy to blow away, from the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried that away, and you couldn't see it anymore. That's right, said the king. The whole thing suddenly disappeared as though the wind had blown it away. Yes, and the stone took its place, said Daniel. In fact, it had grown into a big, great mountain, and it filled the whole earth. Yes, that's what I saw, said the king in amazement. This was amazing. How could this young man know so much? He had not made a single mistake. Surely the God who he served must be a wonderful God if he could recall a man's dream like this. But what did it all mean? And what would it reveal about the future? And what did it have to do about the latter days? Nebuchadnezzar could hardly wait to learn the meaning of this strange and terrible thing that he'd seen in the night. Why was this image, this man made up of all these different metals, with a head of gold and feet of iron and clay? And why did it get broken? And then why did it just blow away? And what about that rock that hit it and then became a huge mountain that covered the whole earth? Breathlessly, the king waited for Daniel to speak again. And that will be the story I'll read day after tomorrow. So it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I wanted to say I love you. I really do. I'm so glad you're listening to these Bible stories. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll read a different type of story tomorrow, or I might tell one. You can't tell. And then I'll do the Bible story the following day. So I want to pray blessings on you in your house and when you're out of your house, in the day and in the night too. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. Good night.